To my Simon, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, good. How you doing, my
It
friend?
is wonderful to
Seeing you.
see
Good.
you. I
You as
often
well.
think that, my goodness, I've known you for so long, but we really have never stopped to talk. And
Yeah,
we're always in so many meetings or board meetings, or our paths cross a lot, and we never really
absolutely.
stop to talk. So I'm glad to take a moment.
Absolutely. Me too. I when you approached me initially, I was like, yes, let's find a
Let's
time. I
do
think
it.
these are great conversations to have, and so thank you. Thank you
I'm
for having me.
excited. I appreciate that. So let me tell you about DVA. DVA is a professional development training consultancy. We work with several organizations to improve their leadership skills, host special projects, and create team building events. And Leader Talk itself is a moment for us to stop all of that
Mhm.
work and just talk to the leaders in our community.
Absolutely.
So, welcome. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here. And I can't imagine there isn't anyone who doesn't know you already. But for those people in my audience who might not know who you are, tell them about yourself, Simon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for those kind words, and again, just very excited to be a part of this. So, as you mentioned, my name is Simon Rodriguez, and I am the Youth Services Manager with the City of Aurora. And that entails a lot, but to put it in a nutshell, if I can, it's really making sure that there is a continued voice and advocacy for our youth. When we say youth, that's a wide spectrum. You know, that could
Right,
be as early as early childhood and our babies,
right.
all the way through those young people that are navigating, you know, collegiate life or
Yeah. Oh,
careers,
yeah.
post high school world, and beyond. So I'm very honored to have the task of working with so many wonderful partners such as yourself and others in our community to meet those needs.
Wow.
So that's again, we condense it, but there's obviously a lot that goes into that, a
That's
lot of specific
such a
programming.
condensed version.
I put it in a can and it's
So
squeezing it in
condensed.
a little bit.
Simon, I know you're a new parent. I'm excited.
Yes.
I follow your child on Instagram more than you, Simon. I'm telling you, I'm a bigger fan than with you.
Well,
Tell me
just to
how you.
clarify, my son doesn't have an Instagram, but my wife does, and she puts him on there. So you can't follow him on Instagram, but he's on it.
But you'll find him. He's there. You'll
Yeah,
find him. He's
yeah.
got a lot of presence. Simon, how do you and your family celebrate the holidays?
Wow. I mean, celebrating it. That's an interesting word because I think over the years we've been so intentional on focusing on what our purpose is during this holiday season, and what our role is even.
Mhm.
So, and I say that because yes, we do get together with our family, and such a blessing because the last 2 years,
Oh yeah.
with COVID and with my wife was pregnant during in 2020, and then we had our son in 2021. So we were very careful and very mindful of that, those boundaries, right, that we had to set. So yes, we get together with family, culturally, in the Mexican household we'll make some delicious food that is very
Mhm.
relevant during the holiday season, like
Yeah,
tamales, which I feel are very
yeah.
popular in the States even. um we do we celebrate the on the 24th, celebrations start
Oh,
Christmas Eve into midnight, the same way that that many of us celebrate New Year's. We do that in many Latino cultures and many cultures in general. You celebrate, some folks go to midnight mass and
uh-huh.
celebrate, into Christmas Day. But now we've pivoted a little bit just because obviously our son is 19 months. I don't think he can stay up that late. So uh we're actually pivoting a little bit into doing the, I don't know if you call it traditional, but opening gifts and doing kind of more
Yeah.
celebrations Christmas Day in the morning.
Mhm.
Um, but going back to what I said about also trying to figure out what our role is. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is a time of year where we look back and we're just so grateful for the blessings that have been bestowed on us, and we look at how we can pay it forward and bless others in the time of in this time, the holiday time of those in need. So we're intentional of trying to focus on how we can best serve our community, serve our families, serve our friends during this beautiful time of
I
service.
don't know your wife, but I think I do know that you've always been this person. Has this kind of changed under the parenthood umbrella for you guys? This intentionality of how you
No,
spend?
right. That's a great question. I think it's almost been amplified.
Yeah.
Now for the first time as first time parents, and folks that our parents can definitely identify, we are raising a young human for the first time. So I think all of our upbringing and morals and our views in life are now being amplified in a way that's just so beautiful, but also can be very heavy, right? Because you are at the same time raising a young human, but you're
Yeah.
being very intentional about instilling those things that you view as important. Like I said, community service is very important to both my wife and I.
Yeah.
So we try to find ways to show that to our son so that he grows up in that same mindset, hopefully, right? And that's, I think, what every family, every parent tries to do with their children.
Oh, wow. It has been a difficult 2 years. And
Absolutely.
new parents, I have to ask the question, uh, you don't have any other kids, but how has it been having a COVID baby? Kind
Yeah, it's so funny when people are like, "You're having a COVID baby." I'm like, I guess that's historically maybe what would be referred to.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know because we know the life in the way it existed
right.
pre-COVID, right? And we've only known parenthood during
All
the
right.
outbreak
Yeah.
and so on. So obviously, when you have a child, I think for the most part you're very hopefully you're more conscious about germs and
Mhm.
things like that, just in general. But
Just in
add
general.
a
Yeah.
pandemic to that, I think we were obviously and sometimes very fearful, as I feel a lot of parents are in general.
Yeah.
But we were also very cautious and very intentional. I
Yeah.
think intentionality is so key in our
Yeah.
um us as parents and as in our marriage. So absolutely. And it does mean sometimes that you have to potentially distance yourselves or just be not so in person. But now
Yeah.
when we were able to you know uh transition into a more in person, how the world was, right? Going back in person, we're able
Yeah.
to do the same thing with our child, and it's been really beautiful.
Right.
It was a struggle. it's
It
it's
is
you
a
know
struggle. Yeah.
yeah,
I got to
absolutely.
tell you, as a grandma of 16 beautiful grandbabies, I've learned how
Beautiful.
to do things like I've got my own emoji. I know how I know how to
Yeah,
do filters. I know how to talk and communicate with them in their world because the
absolutely.
distance, because of the pandemic, not holding them, hugging them,
Right.
being in the same space, holidays on the phone, like it was
Yeah.
so insanely crazy. What have been your greatest challenges in this year, Simon? 2022. What brought you challenge?
Well, obviously, besides parenthood, just because everything is still so new,
Yep.
I think folks can appreciate again that our parents, that our son's 19 months. Within those 19, you have seen a little human transition so fast. So, I mean, 1 minute, there's one need, and the next need is something
Yep.
completely different. We have technology where we're blessed to be able to see a year ago what were we doing. I mean,
Yep.
he
Yep.
was a different baby,
Yeah.
right? And so navigating those waters has been difficult. And then, life in general is already difficult. That's like the understatement of
Right.
of, of today.
Yeah.
But adding, the that layer of parenthood on top of what's already can be a very hectic lifestyle, especially if you are someone who is very dedicated, as yourself, Sandra, very dedicated to the community, very out there, collaborating and showing your face and your presence and your influence around the community. So all of that, just even from a scheduling perspective, having to
Yes. Right.
balancing life, and
Yeah.
again, that's just probably an understatement, or like people that are parents are like, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful. I say that with so much grace and humility because a lot of folks, when you're put against the wall, so to speak, or you're challenged with, hey, life's busy, now let's add a little, human to it. It
Right.
really brings you to your element, right? And it fulfills sometimes your purpose
Yeah.
in many ways. So it's been very hectic, balancing life in general, but I feel that it is such a blessing to be able to look at what myself, my wife have been able to accomplish just in our home, and then out in the community, and how we influence and affect our community in various positive ways.
You've got a
It's just
little toddler running around the house now, so I can imagine the
yeah.
cabinets are kind of tied together
Oh
and
yeah, we got locks on them. Yep.
everything's up high. So you're living
Yes.
this world. Simon, it's really amazing to talk to a dad. I don't often talk to dads
Hmm.
about the transition and about the struggles,
Right,
especially
right.
getting through COVID. What are you hoping for the new year for your family?
I'm just hoping like most, and sometimes I think I you have to think back and really um humble yourself when you ask for things like, I just want health.
Yeah.
I want a roof over our heads, and these things that we unfortunately take for granted so many ways. I've had the honor and privilege of living and traveling to so many countries around the world. And sometimes one of the most humbling experiences is realizing, wow, I am blessed beyond measure in so many ways. And then and you take that in a positive light, right? And to hopefully motivate you to be a blessing to others. So I'm hoping in 2023 that I continue to be mindful of the fact that there are so many folks in our community
Yeah.
that are in need in so many ways,
Yeah.
and use that as a motivating tool to work with so many wonderful partners in our communities, and you being one of them. And we work with so many wonderful
Okay.
nonprofits and individuals.
Yeah.
And how can we look at 2023 as being the year where we just,
Take it. Do it.
right, we just explode with so
Yeah.
much potential.
Yep.
That excites me, and it gives us a new challenge. And I think we always have to continue to add new challenges to our
Right.
our professional lives, and in personal lives, again, just being grateful and blessed, and using those blessings to help others and along the
It's
way. And you
amazing.
know what? One thing someone told me, my pastor did too as well, is like, when it comes to being a parent, I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, you're just grateful that they are breathing. And you say that in
Breathe.
a funny way, but you say that also in a very serious way, that they are alive and well. And
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a very humbling thing to say.
Simon, I know as you have been part of the team now for a couple of years in Aurora, and I consider Aurora my family. We lost our son a couple of years ago.
Mm,
He was our only son, and we lost it. And he was our firstborn, lost to gun violence. So the weight of parenthood in loss and in grief and in pandemic has been really heavy on our family. So it's just so refreshing and so wonderful to connect with people who I adore, people who I respect, to know that your family, your relationship with your son is that special. We move so fast. We take so many things for granted, and we don't often stop to talk about our work or the blessing in that our children are to us and how we spend
absolutely.
our time with them. So it has just been so wonderful talking to you. Leader Talk was born at the time of year that is near and dear to my heart, holidays. And we looked around and we thought toys everywhere, which is easy to see. I've got 16 grandkids, but the way that folks were thinking about toys and handing out toys and parent perspective and kids perspective, we were
Mm,
like, this needs to stop.
mm,
And so we pulled back and wanted to focus our time here at DVA more on literacy. And
mm,
so
absolutely.
Leader Talk allows us to talk to folks like you and ask a couple of questions like, Simon, if you
Mm,
had all the money in the world and could buy one book, what everybody in your network, what book would you buy them?
Wow.
It's going to make our DVA Book of the Year list. Make it
That
good.
is, man, oh, that's a great question.
No,
I
make
don't
it
think I've ever, but we've always asked if you had all the money in the world, what to do with it. But this is
good.
to buy a book. Wow.
One book
You
for
know,
everybody you love.
I think about two, and I'm going to get technical because I can think of a children's book that I feel so inspirational.
Okay.
But yet there's another book, me being a history teacher, before I was, city of Aurora, and love history. Um, if I can merge like almost two books, I guess I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit.
Give me
And
just.
so I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that because I can't narrow it to just one. The first would be The Giving Tree. And I'm not sure if you remember, it is a classic. I believe it's Shel Silverstein, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken because he's a very famous children's author. It's about the little kid who goes to a man, an old man, and he just befriends this tree that gives him what he needs. Um, it's a very short but profound, powerful book, and to this day, I see it as one of the lessons that I still take into adulthood
Wow.
is the beautiful relationships we can forge
Yeah.
and the amazing gifts that we can give to others.
Yeah.
And while we might see it as a small gift to that person, it can change their entire life. And that's the way I view that book. This is an elementary,
Yeah.
children's book.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other one, though, that if I can get more uh, deep, because I value history so much, and I'm a big proponent. If you don't learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I do feel,
Absolutely.
in many ways, the way we teach history in this country is sometimes very backwards, or we miss a lot of very important information, and we
Come
don't
on,
find out
Simon.
about.
Yes. Yep.
So, if folks want to, there's so many wonderful books out there by so many artists. But if I can hone in on a history book that focuses on U.S. history and
Yeah.
a lot of the things that we're not taught growing up,
Right.
it is the People's History of the United States.
Mm.
It is a phenomenal, phenomenal book that
Yep.
really goes in depth into a lot of things that we're not taught
Oh,
in
wow.
the school system to understand a little bit more of the struggles of so many people
Yeah.
in our country. It helps us become more aware and more, um, intentional about our where what we tackle as far as social issues
Right.
is if we know what our history is, right? So, I would love to get those
That
two
would be
books, I think.
so dope. So I
Yeah.
got to tell everybody my 2022 Leader Talk guest, Simon Rodriguez, is not only giving us one book, but two. So,
Yes.
Simon, we're going to add those books to the title this year, to our list. And what we do is we publish this list of books that we've heard from our guests and encourage folks
Awesome.
to get them, to download them, to read them.
Absolutely.
Throughout the year, what we do for holidays is we pull from that list and share
Mm.
those books with our audience. If we are training at a school, we might bring a book. If we're training at a nonprofit organization, we might say, hey, there's a guy in Aurora who's on youth services and he thinks this is an awesome book.
Yeah.
And so that's
Oh, that's
kind of how
awesome.
we grow our
I
list. Just
love that. I love that concept. That is a beautiful concept.
yeah,
And
thank you.
I would be remiss if when you said literacy and someone that is a champion that I look at right now that's doing some amazing things. A lot of people are obviously,
Yep,
but
yep.
one of the people that comes to mind is Natalie Bonner with her what she's doing
Absolutely.
with the Dream Scribers program. And if
Yes,
listeners don't know about that yet, oh my goodness, it is phenomenal. And I think it's just so
phenomenal.
empowering to
Yeah.
not only have our young people focus on literature, not just in a reading sense, but being creators of literature is
Yes.
amazing. So my hat's off to her and the work she's doing and
I
others in the
love
community.
that program, Dream
Mhm.
Scribers. I have a special needs daughter who turned 35 today. Happy birthday, Vanessa. And
Awesome.
she is excited, very high functioning. She's excited to work with Natalie publishing a book.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. Love
I
to hear about
love
this.
it. I absolutely love the idea. Simon, this has been so awesome. It has been amazing getting to know you and talking to you.
Oh,
And I'm so excited to spend this time with you. Is there a
thank
question that you would like to ask me, DVA, our community, our audience?
Oh wow, you put me on the spot, right?
I got
Um, you know what? I'm gonna ask a rhetorical question,
you. Okay.
and not just to yourself, but all our listeners.
Okay.
Um, because as we, transition from 2022 into the new year,
Yep.
a lot of folks think about New Year's resolutions and what can I do differently. And I want to challenge folks to think about this question going into the new year and
Okay.
saying, what is one thing that I can do
Okay.
in the next year that will positively impact my community?
Ooh.
And I mean, you can answer that now, Sandra, because I would love to hear your take, but I also want our folks listening in and everyone just to kind of think about that. And maybe that could be the drive, the response could be
No,
that drive that you'll have for 2023.
Simon, and I love the question. Thank you for posing it, not only to me, but to our community. I'm going to give this to my communication gal and get it out. This is a great
Awesome.
question. But I take a lot of heat for serving.
Mm,
I have heard everything from, oh my God, you just want to be in everything for attention, da da da, resume padding, all of it. But my husband likes to say, he likes to tell folks that we serve more than we work. And
mm,
my mom raised us to believe that if you serve, you don't have to work. You
mm,
just have to continue to serve. So
absolutely.
going into the new year, I want to unapologetically serve. And I want to serve that it benefits the Black community. I want to be unintentional about that.
Mhm.
There are many populations that I service, but I
Absolutely.
want my heart's work to serve
Absolutely.
in the Black community.
Absolutely. And
I
I
will
love that.
continue to do that dogmatically anywhere I can.
And
Uh,
it's
Go
my
ahead.
friend, I love that you said unapologetic because at the end of the day, and I know where
Yeah,
your heart is.
yeah,
And so many other, again, other folks that we can name a laundry list of
yeah,
individuals that are incredibly selfless,
yeah.
selfless,
Great.
and they're out there in the community and maybe they don't get the recognition or the awards or their reward is much bigger and grander than than some kind of publicity stunt.
I totally agree.
And I commend you um on your intentionality. Is that a word? I don't know if I created
Yeah,
it,
if it
but
isn't, we just
but
made
being
it.
being very intentional
Yeah,
about the fact that, and statistics can back it, that there are folks in our community
yeah,
that really need champions and
yeah,
support. And we would not be doing our jobs as folks in our community if we did not recognize the challenges that some folks in our community face,
yeah.
whether it is and you can focus on their ethnic backgrounds,
Right.
their identities, their economic statuses.
Mm-hmm.
So if we choose to ignore that, then we are not fulfilling our job as folks in the community. So
That
I
is,
commend you for being very intentional
thank you.
with your goal. I
Thank
applaud you. And if I can do anything to help, please.
you. Ditto. I was gonna say the same thing, Simon, but we I started this conversation by saying we're in the same spaces all the
Mhm.
time. And that
Absolutely.
speaks volumes. Uh,
Absolutely.
that speaks volumes. Whether you are championing DVA for me or championing light, I appreciate you. I
Thank you.
really appreciate you. I'm glad we've had this time together.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's
I
been my
do as
absolute
well.
pleasure.
Continue having more conversations. This is great.
I'm gonna I am looking forward to sharing this video with our community. I am looking forward to working with you next year, and I am extremely grateful for you, Simon Rodriguez.
Thank
Have
you.
a,
I
have
appreciate
a
that, Sandra.
wonderful holiday.
Thank you. You as well.
Be well, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.